Hi and welcome. I'm Michelle Marchant Johnson with Love Life Coaching, and I'm thrilled to have you here. And I'm thrilled to have with me a wonderful guest. That is my friend and colleague, Dave Elliott. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, thank you so much. It's great to be back. Always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you.
So happy to have you here, Dave. And I'm going to share a little bit about Dave in just a moment. And we're going to have a really great conversation today because one of the things that I've been able to do over these years of working with women around the world to help them meet and attract the right man is to learn more about men so that I can help my clients who are women understand more about what's going on in the hearts and minds of men. And so I've done multiple man panel events where I've interviewed men. Dave has been one of the wonderful guests and contributors to that. And then I've interviewed men for my YouTube channel, and I'm currently working on a book about men for women. I'll let you know more about that as we get a little closer. And so I really wanted to include Dave and his expertise in the book because I know that he has a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience, and he also has experience in one area that I don't, which is the experience of being a man.
I know
That's
something about it.
There's something about it. So we're going to tap into your masculine wisdom, knowledge, understanding, Dave. And I want to share just a little bit about Dave, kind of give an official intro, and then we're going to dive right in. Dave is with Legendary Love for Life. And when it comes to relationship transformation, Dave Elliott is a noted expert, author, international speaker, podcast host, and an accomplished coach who gets results for his clients all over the world. He's especially gifted at teaching smart, amazing women how to bring out the very best in men rather than suffering through their worst. So there's a lot of women out there who hear that and are saying, hallelujah, I'd like to bring out the best in a man rather than suffer through their worst. Because as many times as we as women, Dave, hear, when men want to please you, men want to make you happy, men want to be your hero, that's not always the experience that every woman feels like she's had. So let's just dive in right there. I want to tap into your wisdom about some of the key things you've learned as a man by working with men and women, and some of the key things that stand out that you think would be valuable for women to know. I know that's very broad, but let's just jump in and then we can see where this takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I'm really glad to be having this conversation about the topic. I want to just start by saying, I am a huge believer in the benefits of partnership. And it's why I do this work of trying to bring people together. And it's sort of, I guess, my calling. You'd say I love it, my mission. I think, and a lot of times I'm very, very positive. And I'm going to talk about some things like I want to prepare people. I want to be honest about the situation. I see some challenges ahead right now. And I don't think you make challenges better by ignoring them or pretending they're not happening. I think it's probably better to talk about them. So I'm going to start to say, one, first of all, ladies who are here listening to us, thank you very much for being here. You are our tribe. I think I speak a little bit for you about that. You're here doing this. You could be anywhere else doing anything else, but you're here investing in yourself, investing in your knowledge, your education, your experience, your wisdom. And I want to call on you to do even more of that right now. Michelle, we've done this so many times. I do a lot of what I do is, again, bring the best out of men so you don't suffer through the worst. So I spent a lot of time helping women to understand men and do things outside of them. How do you say this, or how do you ask this, or how do you handle these types of issues? That's all outside of you. What I would love to call to you all to do who are listening to this is this: you're doing it. I don't say continue doing it, do even more of it. This is a time where I don't work so much outside of you. It's time to go inside of you. The greatness is inside of you. The greatness is never more needed than right now, because when you're in a good place, you're going to be so much more empowered. You're going to be so much more resilient. And one of the things that men are looking for that makes the difference between someone they're dating or someone that's nice or someone that's pretty or whatever, and someone who is a keeper is someone who is empowered from within, who knows who they are, who knows what they do. They know where they maybe get hung up. They're doing some work to heal their old stuff and show up healed and whole and be able to engage people and to be able to, yeah. The thing that when a man is going to decide that you're the one for him, it's because he interacts with you in a way that's different. Like a lot of times men will say like, oh my God, I knew it immediately. She's like no one I've ever met. And like, again, there's some challenging things going on. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but like, I want to be clear, you're under no obligation to fix it, but when you're better prepared by going inside and doing your own work, you're 50% of any interaction. And so if you're triggered and angry and sad or brokenhearted or depressed or something like that, it's going to probably drag things down. But if you're positive, if you're curious, tell me more about that. Where did you get that idea? What makes you think that? Like, again, very, balanced and in a good place because you're not triggered by some kind of thing. You're like, oh, I'm sure you have a reason why you think that. Tell me more about that. What makes you think that? So again, it's just this whole curiosity of like, okay, tell me more about that. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's something I don't know about. I've done a lot of work on myself. I've gone inside. I've poked around there in the dark. I've done some work. But again, if you're less triggered, because when you're triggered, they get triggered and then it goes like this and it tends to get to be problematic. So yeah, I just really want to encourage women. Again, they're here doing it. So continue doing it. Do your work. The more healed and whole you show up, the more you're going to stand out and the more people are going to be like, wow, who is she? Like, she's really got it together. She's amazing. She speaks, again, the whole thing about you, because you really have the ability to kind of speak life into a man. Or, you could do the opposite too, right? You can not, you can make him feel like you don't get him. You don't see the best in him. You're not, you're challenging. Again, there's time to challenge too, to be really clear. So I want to make sure, I'm a big fan and believer, lover of partnership and two amazing equals coming together, lifting each other up. The truth of the matter is you're going to meet someone and there are going to be great times and there are going to be challenging times, and you're going to find out who you really are in the challenges. One, you in the great times and the pretty pictures of, sunsets that end up on social media. That's one thing, but there are going to be tough times too. And my thing is you should be prepared for it. Some of the challenges that I see.
Dave, can I stop you for
Sure.
1 sec? I want to ask
Please,
a couple of. No, you're fine. I just want to ask a couple of follow-up questions to a couple of things you've said so far, and then I'd love to have you share with us what you're seeing as far as some of the challenges out there. So you kind of started with a piece where you're inviting or challenging women and men, because we have some men listening to go within, to continue to do the healing work, the self-awareness work, the work to become whole, happy, healthy, psychologically, physically, every way, because that allows us, frankly, to be showing up in the world where we have an energy that's more attractive and where we can be a better partner. So we also recognize we're all human. That's a journey. And you and I both believe in and stand for partnership. And I just want to put a couple of things there and ask a question. One is, I think it's important that we remember that we don't have to be perfect before we're able to have partnership, because I do feel like there's a lot of women out there, and I'm sure men too. I work with women who feel like until they have everything all together, everything resolved, healed, taken care of, that they may not be fully lovable or ready for a partnership. So yes, I want to say this is a lifelong endeavor. This is a lifelong
absolutely. Yes.
journey.
Right. Thank you.
And if we had to be perfect in order to have partnership and love, none of us would ever find it. And then also the right relationship. Not that you're looking to be someone's healer or therapist or that sort of thing in a romantic relationship, But the right relationship can also be healing. It can help support you. You can help support each other through some of those experiences and processes, and some of the, like you said, there's some challenging times. And even the best of relationships, marriages, there's some challenging times. But the question I wanted to ask you about all of this is, you talked about women being empowered and how that can be one thing that can set them apart in terms of how a man might choose a partner. And I know from conversations with women, and also because I was a single woman well into my 40s, I married my husband and became a first-time bride at almost 44. I had the perception, and I think many women have a perception, that men can be intimidated by smart, successful. You know, we hear this. Well, they're intimidated by smart, successful, capable, independent women. And so when I hear the word empowered, I'm just wondering if there's women out there that might be thinking, well, how does that all mesh? How does that all work? Does my question make sense?
It makes perfect, beautiful sense. And I'm glad you stopped me. I was on a roll there a little bit. And you pointed out that whole thing about, you don't have to have it all locked down and together and perfect. In fact, the beauty of relationship is that sometimes it can be incredibly healing. And in the entire human experience, there's support and challenge. You don't have one without the other. And so sometimes, like, your partner can, be that spirit that believes in you and sees the best in you and lifts you up and says, it's okay. Tomorrow's another day. We're going to figure this out. And sometimes your partner's job is to challenge you and say, what is this? Where's this coming from? Like, tell me, what is this? You need to take a look at this. I'm not good with this behavior or this habit or this attitude or whatever. Sometimes you do need to kind of speak truth to power to someone you love, because it's necessary, because we don't necessarily see ourselves. So it's basically, my wife has been really good at that. Calling me out on some of my own stuff. And again, I have done a lot of this work, to be able to help other people. But there's also the invisible spots that I don't see. And vice versa. We do that for each other. But it's really powerful and a beautiful gift for two people to be the very best they can be. Again, that's not saying that if you're not at the best, you don't deserve it. So thank you for pointing that out. It's the other thing you said that I wanted to respond to. The last thing you said.
I was asking you about this idea of being empowered, because when I think of the word empowered, and that being something that a man that might help you to be seen by a man as someone that they might want partnership with, my sense is, just from my own experience and talking with so many women over the years, that some might be saying, well, yeah, but then there's this whole idea out there, which I don't believe in, by the way, but we want to get some clarity around this, that men are intimidated by smart, successful, independent women, and that can actually scare them off or repel them. And so I just want to go a little deeper on this.
And again, if you go do your inner work, I know that you have a lot of amazing women here, and I'm a big fan of amazing women. But the thing is, you can be incredibly smart, brilliant, empowered, doing really, doing really, really well. And will some men be intimidated by that and maybe not want to be part of it? Maybe. But guess what? They're not the men for you. You can be incredibly empowered and incredibly amazing and, just doing so well. But you can still be humble in that too. And you still be great. Now, if someone can't handle it for whatever reasons of their own scarcity, lack, feeling like they're not enough, do you really want to be married to someone who chronically and routinely spends their life feeling not enough and living in your shadow because, they're wounded, intimidated, not enough for that? I don't think so. I don't think that's your person. Now, you might bring attention to that so they can maybe do some work. But I mean, I tell people all the time, like, my wife's incredible and so many good things. And, I am blessed to be with someone that's smart and is talented and is gifted. And wow, I mean, intimidated. Well, no, I celebrate it. don't intimidate it. I'm not intimidated by it. Like I think it's a blessing. I literally believe that, I'm trying to believe that I put a lot of good out in the world, and I have someone who is with me, who's got my back, who is loyal and who is great, and we build a life together, and we sort of we're successful because we're a team. I'm not threatened by our success. I celebrate it. I welcome it. I think it's amazing. And like there are some things where like she does a different aspect of the business, and I am like, okay, what can I do to help? What do you need from me? Like, you're doing great. It's again, because you've done your work. If it's people that haven't done the work will be intimidated by someone who is really, really effective and really good, versus someone who's like, I see what you're doing. It's amazing. And maybe we should do this too. Or have you thought about this? Or, and I don't know about this person who's trying to sell you something. We should probably something tells me that might be off. That kind of thing. It's like, I'm not leading that. She's leading that aspect. She's a real estate investor, and we're kind of doing some really great things that feel good. She's absolutely leading that. And I'm like a little bit in the backseat, and I'm okay with it. That's her passion. She doesn't tell me how to do this, though. This is my passion. So, the way we look at it is like, I'm sorry to make it kind of personal. I'm just giving the example, like, we have a kind of talk about it. It's like, whether it's people or places, we see them as they are. We see them better than they are. And we try to leave them better than we found them. That's it. I work with people. She works with houses or, units or something like that. And we fix them up and we leave them better than we found them. And that feels good. So, we have a different focus in life, but we kind of see how they meld together. We, try to make the world a better place a little bit, whether it's people or places. So I hope that answers your question. And thank you for pointing out, you don't have to have it all locked down and together and be perfect and never get angry or never get sad. That's not what I mean. I mean, just continue to do your own work, and then you don't get pulled off track. So
yeah, you don't get pulled off track. You don't get triggered so much by just some little thing that might happen or not happen, or what some person that you are dating or in a relationship with might do or say. And I feel like when it comes to this women and success, I feel like, at least in speaking with the men that I've spoken with over the years, and you can verify this for me from your perspective, Dave, is that a part of it is that a man needs to feel like what he has to offer is of value to her, that he can make a difference, that his presence in her life makes a difference. Not that she couldn't perhaps take care of herself, or that she's not doing all of these things, but that he also is something that, or someone in her life that she's going to appreciate, that he can bring something into her life that's going to be of value, that's going to feel good to him. And then I think another part of this is, and you can verify this for me too, is also vulnerability, like the ability to be real. Because even if you're a woman who's very successful and self-sufficient out of necessity or out of choice, there are still going to be times when you're lonely, or you have disappointments, or you're frustrated with something, or you might need some help with something, or you just might want someone to talk to, or someone to cheer you up. You even might want someone to share your hopes, your dreams, your fears with, those kinds of things. And so I feel like when we're able to show not just the accomplishments or the resume stuff or the impressive whatever it might be, we're able to show more some of the heart feeling sort of things, when we're able to show a bit of vulnerability, when we're still in tune with the fact that, even if we're really successful, we're still human, and there are times we want a shoulder to cry on, or someone to talk to, or someone to share our ideas with, or whatever. I feel like that creates that opening and that space for the right man to be in a woman's life, no matter how successful or accomplished she is.
Right. And I think what that goes down to, again, thank you for bringing that up too, is like man has to know that you're able to receive his gifts. Like he can't stay where his gifts aren't welcome, and his gifts are to protect or to provide in some way. So that's huge, and there's a lot of ways to protect. There's a lot of ways to provide. What I believe the best of a man is to not like protect and sort of defend, but also defend people that kind of need defending, I guess. I'd rather not to keep people down, but like to look after people, look after the people that you care for, look after you, look after your family, your kids, your extended family, and to he just needs to see that he's valued and appreciated. What he brings of value. It might not be equal dollar amounts, or it might not be, might not be working the same hours, or might not have the same, it might not be on a red carpet, right? Whatever it is, I don't know. But he's there and he's welcome, and you appreciate what he brings to the team. Even if, you're on red carpet, he's holding your purse or something, or a wrap or something while you're being photographed. Again,
Dave, I think you're hanging out in far higher crowds than I am with this red carpet talk.
I'm just giving an example of there's a lot of men who aren't maybe known in a really high profile thing, but they're comfortable in their own skin, and they're like, they allow you to go do your work. But they're not intimidated by it. They're like, my girl, look at her go. She's awesome. They celebrate that. They're not intimidated by that. I was trying to give just the exaggerated example.
I know.
There's amazing women doing amazing things. I think where it goes off track is where some of the most successful people that I know, and I know some, and not a bunch of people who are on red carpets either necessarily, but I think sometimes they're successful because they have to be, because they're driven by it, because again, like they maybe don't think someone will take care of them, and so if they're so driven to have to be all, do all, take care of all, and they can't trust that someone else will have something to contribute. Like sometimes, like you don't want to turn around and then beat up your partner because they're not maybe succeeding at the level that you think they should be, or whatever. Or again, I don't know, maybe that's just a generic example, but then sometimes it's like we have to ask the question, why are we doing this? What do you believe about that? Can you pull back and do something else, or do something more, do something less, whatever? Why do you have to succeed? Why do you believe that they need to be doing that thing? Again, you go back and you go eternal, and you start to unpack a lot of unconscious messaging throughout your life about what you have to do. Can you trust people? Will other people do what you think they should be doing? And how do you know that's right? Like maybe you're off on that. Again, it's some of our own predispositions and our own beliefs and our own things, and some of them are great and healthy and life affirming, and some of them were maybe not that. Some of them were maybe grinding you down and wearing you out, and some of them were not true. Sometimes you're operating under a fallacy, like no one's gonna love me, or no one's gonna take care of me like me, and I can't relax because if I stop, this whole thing stops. And it's like, is that true? I don't think so. A lot of times, I mean, and again, I'm a big fan of people who are doing great. I think they should, but again, you do it on your terms, and life is about balance. If you're exhausted and falling into bed every day and then getting up very eyed and doing it again, but you're not being filled, you're not fulfilled by it. Like, why? Why are we doing that? You could maybe do I'm not going to say a fraction of it, but I'd say maybe you could do it a little bit less, or maybe you could do it a little differently, or maybe you could do it a little more efficiently, or maybe you could outsource some things that you think that no one can do, but only you could do it that way. It's like the quality of life matters too. And, again, that's the beauty of the partnership. Someone else might see that, and someone else might be able to lend a hand or something, or think of a better way to do it, make it even more efficient or effective in some way. So, again, I just think sometimes we go inside, we ask those good questions about what are we doing, how are we doing it, why are we doing it, and what would happen if we didn't do it that way? What would happen if we did this even better? Well, we maybe outsource some things and 10x what we're already doing by doing it smarter, more effectively.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we could have a whole conversation around this, a whole discussion around this, but I think you're bringing up some really interesting points here. And one that stands out in regard to the relationship partnership thing is just asking those questions that you were just saying. Why am I doing this? How am I doing this? You know, is this in alignment with my values, with the kind of life that I want to really be leading? Is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing me satisfaction? And am I feeling like I have to prove myself to someone out there? Like, you know, when we think of all the crazy things as human beings we do to try to impress this person or that person, or trying to prove ourselves, the kind of man that I believe the vast majority of women here are listening to this would be the one that would appreciate, cheer her on, like you're describing with your wife. You're cheering on the things that she does so well. Well, also would recognize her vulnerability, her need to sometimes depend on him, her need to sometimes be able to rely on him, like you said, to provide, to protect in a variety of ways. That's not always about money, or it's not always protecting you from some harmful person. There's a lot of different ways that men can provide that. So part of that is we have to be, as women, open and receptive, like you said, to receive his gifts. And I believe that if you as a woman don't feel like the man that is in front of you, that you're dating or that you're in partnership with, if he doesn't have gifts or something to offer that you can receive, he's probably the wrong man for you. You're probably mismatched, right? Because he's going to feel unappreciated, unacknowledged, unseen, undervalued, and you're going to be probably complaining or feeling like you're not getting what you want or need. So this is a whole conversation.
Contribution is just your soft place to land or something. And again, I'm kind of conscious of, like, you know, straw man arguments, which are, you know, exaggerations in the other directions. Like, I want to be clear, I'm not you know, a big fan of like coattail riders and people who are just there for the party afterward and, like, you know, not really contributing. Like, I'm not saying those are your people. It's like they are your person. You know, one of the ways they keep you safe is by believing in you and saying, yeah, you know what, you did a great job on that. I think that's awesome. I think that's going to turn out really well. Or I'm so impressed by the way you did that. Like, that's providing too. You know, again, there's all kinds of ways to do it. Again, I just think the key is if you're in a relationship where maybe the woman is maybe outperforming the man sort of financially or whatever hours or whatever your quantification is, there's a way, like, it can work in some ways, but I think the graceful way to do it is to not beat up on them for what they're doing. It's also finding what are they providing. And if they're not providing enough, then by all means, like you said, they're probably not your person, and you don't really need to stay there because, you know, no one else is ever going to get you. Like, I reject that notion on hand too. So I'm not saying, you know, find a person and, you know, put them on the payroll and let them follow you and hold your purse, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people can maybe not be performing at the exact same level as you if you're blessed to perform at a high level, but they're still providing value, and you can maybe call them out to get more out of them. You know, there's a lot of ways to handle it. Depends on who they are. What are they bringing to the table? You know, everybody brings something. And if they don't bring enough of something, then that's probably not the person for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you for dancing with me on all of this. I just feel like there's so many different nuances and directions we could go, but I feel like we've been talking about some really important things. And I know you were about to, when I kind of took us back to the beginning here, to share some of the challenges that you see out there in the world right now. in the realm of relationships and for men and women. And I want to hear about all of that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. So again, I think like culturally and in the world at large, I guess there's just some challenging things like, for the first time, people who are in their 30s are not doing as well as their parents. That is a very big change. So things are challenging in some ways, in ways that they were. And we don't have to get into all the reasons why, but it's a challenge. There are situations where just things are coming at us quickly. Like now, for the first time, again, I liked before I got into coaching. People who've listened to me or heard me before will remember I was in advertising. So I focus on demographics and branding and marketing and understanding who's out there and sort of understanding sociology of people and groups and who they are and what they're bringing to the table. So for the first time, I read this the other day. There's more women over the age of 40 giving birth than there are 15 to 19. It's never happened.
Never. Interesting.
And, now you talk about like first time home buyers, like, at one time, because I'm so my age here, but at one time, people in their 20s would maybe buy their first house. But I live in Australia now, it's very expensive here. And I'm constantly telling my wife, there is a tipping point at some point. Like now, the average age of a first time home buyer is closer to 40 than it is to their 20s. And there's a reason for that because, housing prices have gone up exponentially more than incomes have. So again, these are systemic issues. They cause pressure. They cause people to struggle. And then, I guess there's all kinds of other stuff too. Like I see with like dating sites. I wrote a book about how to write a really effective profile. So I don't want this to come up negative, but you're not doing yourself a favor by ignoring it or not knowing it or not thinking about it or not considering like, how might that affect us? Or how might this affect us, a generation from now? What challenges would that create potentially? I have a lot of my clients are amazingly successful people and and they're just amazing women, the ones that I work with and, we're talking to predominantly today. There are so many scams out there. I don't know it for sure, but I believe that somewhere in a hotel near an airport, there are people teaching people how to scam people out of huge amounts of money. Because they had a 40th birthday or some their 35th birthday, or they're on the other side of that birthday, because they're basically hijacking maybe these feelings of loneliness or whatever, and just working them and creating, there's going to be an ask and I just for money. And then my thing is like, I've literally had clients tell me and they've been prepared because I kind of suspected, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I don't know for sure, but here's the thing. If there's a request for money, like I've had clients who've had men like put on radio theater over the phone with like a computer system melting down and why they needed, $15,000 quick so they could finish their project and get back to you. I mean, really just nonsensical things with sound effects and everything and screaming and they're actors essentially. Sorry, excuse me, and that's out there. That's happening, and there's. Again, by not being aware doesn't make it any better. Those challenging things. So it's just certain like things in the culture, things in the modern day, things that have changed. I could go deeper on this, but I think there's a lot of generation. Man, like some of the things again, ladies. I'm going to be clear. This is not your responsibility to solve any of these things, but like it's affecting and impacting the dating pool when you have young men who spend their days gaming and they don't know how to talk to people, or they don't know how to take risks, and they don't know how to risk rejection. One of the superpower in this culture right now is to be able to go and risk rejection. I mean, to apply for a job or to ask a woman for a date. There's a lot of men out there who are really they're not really good at that, because they're like locked up in their room, not engaging, playing games online, talking to people online, but they're not really, taking the risks of like asking someone out on a date or, a job interview. And it's like they're there in their room and like everything's there on demand. They get Uber Eats and order on demand for free and just everything. They don't need to go out. And like that affects the dating pool. Again, it's like out of 100 people, who are they? Where are they? Who's right for you? Like they're just systemic issues. And we got, again, people like young men who are raised, with participation trophies by helicopter parents. And, they don't want to take a risk. They don't want to risk rejection. Being able to risk rejection and shake it off and, go to another interview or whatever, or ask another woman out on a date is literally a superpower. But it's way more rare today, I think. And again, that's a bit of some of these things where I think we spend too much time cuddling in some ways, and we don't necessarily focus on like there are real advantages to getting out there and making your way in the world, and every single thing that you do that provides any kind of greatness in the world, you're going to risk some sort of rejection, and you're going to get over it, and you're going to be fine, and you're still going to do great things because of it. But if you're totally incapacitated by that, and those are the people in the dating pool, they're not going to call you up, they're not going to text, they're not going to show up. Those people are out there. So again, it's a good idea in my mind to be aware of, what are some of these factors? Because a lot of times, like, and I know you've had this happen, you'll have clients come to you and say, they don't text me back. I don't know what's going on. I don't know, are we dating? Are they going to call? Are they interested in me? It's like, well, no, because of some of these other factors, like they don't risk rejection, or they don't, maybe that's not where the focus is, or maybe they, for whatever reason, weren't sure if the date went well enough, or you're interested in them. And so it's not you at all, is what I'm saying. Like a lot of times you don't get the result you hope for or wanted. There's all these other factors that are, well, maybe that's why you didn't get it. It's not because you're not enough. It's not because you're not a great option or that you don't bring great things to the world. It's like, why are we worried about this? There are people, failure to lunch and just struggling, and why are people taking that on and making it about them? Like everyone, we have a responsibility to, be the very best version of us that we can be, whatever that is. And I'm, got a wide acceptance of whatever the meaning of that is, but I think you do want a man who knows who he is, who knows what he's about. He knows he has gifts to give you, and he is committed to giving them. And then sometimes, like, it'll call you out a little bit too, and you return the favor. But again, you do it ethically and kindly, ideally, mostly, right? Sometimes you could be direct because you have to. Like, there are times to say, listen, this is not okay. We're not going to do that. This can't happen. And then you have that kind of direct conversation. So, again, I don't want to make it seem like I'm negative or down on things, but like there are some challenging things happening, and I think ignoring them or pretending they don't exist, that doesn't know one any good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a common complaint from women is, and maybe it's because I tend to work with a little bit more mature women, 40 and above. I would suspect a lot of your clients are in that boat as well, Dave.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
They're wanting and expecting a man who's going to take the initiative, who's going to take the lead. And yet, one of the things that I've definitely discovered and learned from talking with men is there's a lot of men out there, because I'm doing a lot of research for this book and talking to men, and not just men in the relationship realm like you are, but just men in general. I'm talking to a lot of men, is that a lot of men are really confused about their role and where they fit in society, in what women really want from them. Do women really still want them to open the door? Do women still want them to ask them out? Are they going to be seen as the creepy guy if they approach a woman? The truly creepy guys don't care, but the normal guys that that want to potentially approach a woman don't want to be seen as the creepy guy. They don't want to be giving a woman unwanted attention if that's going to be unwelcomed. There's the rejection factor, which you mentioned, and I think that's especially relevant for some of the younger generations coming up. There's that risk adverse thing, and so it's creating some confusion out there for all different ages. And so women don't necessarily, at least the vast majority of women, don't feel like they want to be the initiator or the one that's taking the lead, asking someone out. And so, I think there's that whole thing. There's been this conversation, and some of it's good and some of it may not be good, around toxic masculinity and the Me Too movement, and then COVID, when we were all out of contact and out of contact with each other, and people got used to being home and staying home all the time. So you add all these layers, and there's some real challenges on top of several that you mentioned. And so I guess my question, Dave, is, so for women that are listening to this, it's also confusing for them as to what they do. Do they do more to initiate those initial contacts? Do they do more to let a man know that they might be interested? And where's that balance? Like, I just feel like that's a tricky thing all the way around right now.
100%. That is a great point. The word that comes to mind is like incentivize too. It's like, in order to get what you want, you have to have an idea of what it is and what it looks like. And so if you want to incentivize it, you have the difficult conversation. It's like, again, you could say, if a man says, I'm going to take you out, like, where's your favorite place? What do you like? And a lot of times think, I don't know, you have that conversation, like, I make so many decisions to the day. What would make me feel really great is if you pick that on and you pick a place and you arrangement and you just tell me what time you're picking me up or something like that. And you incentivize and say, I love it when a man takes care of me. He takes those decisions off and he just provides, or he makes an arrangement. It's like, oh my gosh, he can actually make things happen. He can protect, he can provide. And so you're asking him and you're telling him in advance what it would mean to you if he does that. He's like, oh, I can do that. In his mind, he's like, I just thought I'd take you to your favorite place or take you this and whatever. But if you incentivize that, he gets to demonstrate his ability to provide, take care of you, make you feel, like you don't have to do one more thing on your plate. Like, he's got it. He's like, I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something nice. I'm not telling you anything else. I got it. And it's just like someone will be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so ask for what you want in advance with examples. Let him know, how does it make you feel when you do that? He's like, wait, did I win the game by doing that for you? Yes, you do. Big points, a lot of points. He's like, okay. And so he knows it's okay, because some women might not have that rule. They don't have that belief. They're like, oh, I don't know where you're taking me. I might not like it. And so he's probably dated a bunch of people like that. And so it's killed some of his incentive. It's killed some of his desire to take a risk, right? Or to try to manage that for you. He doesn't know what you value. Because again, he's dated a lot of women. And some women who are not here of going out and not knowing where they're going to go and trusting that somebody will take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's had that experience, and he's, that isn't great. He's like, okay, note to self, don't try that again. It didn't go well. So let people know what you like. You're an individual. You have individual preferences and references, and your life is nothing more than your past preferences of like, oh, I like that kind of food, or no, I tried that. It's too spicy. I don't like it. Like, that's based on a preference, on a reference from before because you had tried it. So look, you're an open book if you meet someone brand new and they need to know what's important to you. And so, again, you ask for what you want, you incentivize it, and you tell them in advance, I'm telling you, that would be heaven for me. If you, oh, you're a great cook. You know what? Oh my gosh, I would love it if you made a whole cooked meal for me. Like, really? Like, I've been yelled at and told that I was cheap or something like that or whatever. Or, oh, you're just trying to get me to come to your place because you think something's going to happen. Like, now I'm actually a chef, and I just thought I would do something nice for you. And again, so he's been beaten up for that when he wants to do something nice. And again, I'm not like to, I'm saying you have to consider other people's realm of experience and what's happened for them or not happened for them, and what you're if you're dating someone for the first time, you're brand new topic. They don't know your preferences and references and how they should respond to you, and it's up to you to teach them. You let people know what it is you love, what it is you don't like, and sometimes that only happens like, oh wait, what did you say? I don't like when people talk to me that way or whatever. Like, people need to know that. And you can do that without like, yeah, listen, don't do that anymore. That thing, don't do that. That doesn't work for me. You have to teach people how to treat you and incentivize them to get what you want to. Because again, it's a win-win. I believe in, again, relationships is a win-win or no deal. Like if this isn't mutually beneficial in the way that we understand it, what are we even doing? Why are we doing this? Like, it shouldn't be this hard. This has to work for both of us. And that can look a whole lot of different ways. It's not about who's making X amount of the money or who's, whatever, who's paying X amount of the bills or what roles you do. Some people don't work in the yard, or some of their expectations, fixing the car, filling the gas or petrol, like, again, we have some people have very specific ideas and ideology about what is your responsibility and what is mine, and what is never, what I don't want to do, what I don't like to do, what it would make me feel really great if you did. Like my wife likes it when I fill the tank and she doesn't even say anything. I just notice it in advance, and she gets to the car and says, oh, tank is full. Awesome. So it's, again, that's an act of service that is easy to provide, and I know that she appreciates it. She doesn't have to get stun gas on her hands or whatever, or deal with that. It's easy for me to do. I'm happy to do it. So it's those kinds of things. It's understanding in advance what, emotionally, what an act or a habit or something you said or don't say does for someone. But again, you could have two different people. One is like, oh my God, that makes me feel so cared for. And one is like, don't you ever say that to me again. So it can be confusing. We have to teach people how to treat us. And by the way, how do you know what you want? Again, you do this inner work that I'm talking about. Know yourself. Be able to say to someone, you know what? I love it when someone calls me sweetie or whatever, a pet name, and then other people find it objectifying and offensive. Well, yeah, they didn't mean anything by it. It's a term of endearment.
Well, I think that along with the preferences and references you refer to, another thing that happens so often is we all come with a set of expectations on how we think things should be with another person in a dating relationship, in a marriage, in a relationship of any kind. And we don't even always know what those expectations are oftentimes until we bump up against them. And yet we oftentimes expect that our partner is going to automatically somehow know and be able to fulfill those expectations or be a mind reader of some kind. And so one of the keys that I think is really, really important is learning and understanding your own wants and needs, and learning how to effectively ask for what you want or need. And certainly, Dave, you and I work with women and men in helping them know how to communicate and ask for those things. One thing that I find that works most effectively is when I can ask in a way that is a request, and like you mentioned, share something about what that would provide for me, how that would help me, or why I would enjoy that, or whatever, what I'd like. and then to be specific. Because, in my mind, I have certain ideas about something, but when I might ask my husband for something, that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing if I haven't been specific. I mean, I'll just give you an example. If I ask my husband if he'll help me by doing the dishes, in my mind, doing the dishes means wipe down all the counters, sweep the floor, do the dishes, clean and disinfect the sink. I mean, there's steps to all this, right? Make sure there's nothing on the stove, et cetera, et cetera. In my husband's mind, do the dishes means get the dishes from the sink into the dishwasher.
Right.
Right?
That's a great example.
So to me, then I'll come in and I'll go, he didn't do the dishes. And in his mind, he's like, I totally did the dishes. I mean, that might seem like a silly example, but I'm saying there's a lot of different things like this where we all come into relationships with expectations, and we expect that our partner or our dating partner or our partner is going to understand and know exactly what that all looks like and means.
Right. It's like if you're going to play a board game, the first thing you have to do is you got to read the directions so that everybody's on the same page. You can't let them, roll the dice and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't say this before you did it. Now you lose 2 turns, or now you're going to be in jail for a term or whatever."
Right.
And it's just like, well, and then that happened, Or like one of my wife's examples is like, her thing is like she'd like me to take out the rubbish and go rubbish here. Like to take out the rubbish before she smells it. Well, like I don't have your same sense of smell, and there's something inside of me that feels like it's totally inefficient and ineffective to put out a bag that only has this much stuff. And I don't know what you smell, so how am I supposed to do that? And so, it's like over time we kind of learn these little idiosyncrasies. And I'm like, oh, okay, that means that much to you. I will risk the pain of being, wasting effectiveness and efficiency, and I will take this out for you. But it just, again, that's another thing with men too. We have ideas about, we don't like to waste energy. We don't like to waste time. We don't like to put in a lot of effort on something that's like, I don't even want that anyways. If it's something that's just the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So it's really hard for a man to go and put effort into something that he doesn't want, or he doesn't understand, or he doesn't think is valuable or relevant or worth the effort. Like we're very focused on, what's the return on the investment there? Like, why am I even doing that? I can get someone else to do that, or that doesn't matter to me, or that I don't want that. When do that anyway. Waste of time. I got other things that I want to do that are way more important than that. And again, it's all these things are kind of factored into the calculus of what we do and why we do it and when we do it and when we don't do it and why we never do it. Like, because we all have these values and ideas and rules and beliefs of what you should never do, and and every individual has their own set of those. So now we get together and we kind of mix and match them, and it's like there's, one of the link that I'm sharing in this giveaway about doing this work is this personality profile that tells you like what are your 6 human needs and what's your go-to. And it's like sometimes, imagine what happens when the person who lives their life by certainty gets together with someone who's all about variety, which is absolutely the opposite. And they're trying to go through life and figure out where they're going to go on vacation, when one person like only wants to go to places they know because they're really good. And another one's like, I haven't been there. Let's go somewhere new. I'm going to go where the wind takes me. Like, absolutely not.
Right. The other person is going, that sounds terrifying.
Exactly. And they get together and it happens more than, like they're navigating the whole world trying to avoid these things that they don't like or don't prefer. And their partner's like, no, that's great. That's fun. I love that. Okay. So one of us is going to be on the beat, and it's an important thing. You do this work so you know who you are and what drives you and what's important, and understand your rules. So again, you can tell people a bit in advance and, set people, even if it's a rule that like, sometimes there's a tendency to say, look, this might seem silly or inconsequential to you, but I really feel limped and appreciated if, the gas tank is filled when I get in the car, or if the garbage goes out before I smell it. Oh, okay. That wouldn't occur to me, but okay. If I can do that for you, like, I'm just going to take this garbage out and I this rubbish out and I get bonus points and I win the game and like, you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll do that.
Yeah, and that is a
thing.
tricky one that you're talking about there, because my husband and I kind of have that same thing going on with the trash, and I swear we have totally different noses, because I can smell it
Yes.
far before he can. So when you're saying your wife is saying, well, yeah, take it out before I can smell it, and you're like, I don't know what you smell. I mean, like, we have to also have some understanding and some compassion for each other, because my husband will be like, I I can't smell it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It smells to high heaven, right? He can't smell it. And I believe him. I don't think he's pulling my leg. But this whole
No.
energy efficiency thing that you mentioned, I think this is a really important thing for women to understand about men, because in our minds, it can be interpreted as lazy. He's lazy or he doesn't
Yeah.
care. He's lazy or he doesn't care. No, he really can't smell the stink of the garbage that you are smelling.
Right.
He's not
Well,
lazy and he doesn't
and,
not care, or he can't read your mind and know what you want.
and so for your defending the feminine bit, like for the masculine, if you understand that, like, yeah, she has an enhanced sense of smell because like the divine feminine navigates the world through their senses. And so the senses tend to be heightened. So smell and taste, I mean, some of these things like that, and what they hear, they may hear things better because, again, it's tied to safety. And like, I need to hear a threat coming from further away. And a man would be like, I hear a man walk through a parking lot at night and he doesn't really fear for his safety, whereas a lady might, because safety is a huge primary factor, literally, like
Mm-hmm.
for her. And also she's in the realm of the senses. That's why she likes perfumes or, bubble baths that feel wonderful and luxurious and don't tend to sit around in bubble baths
Yeah,
and
for
journal
the
or
most
things like
part.
that. Right? Like they're just not in touch with their feminine that way, but that stands to reason like why there's a heightened sense of smell that goes with a heightened sense of her own senses, smell, taste, pretty things. Men don't go buy flowers at them. Like, that might just makes me smile. They're not in touch with that because it's not a value for them. They're, again, about efficiency and value. Again, it's literally almost like, this just makes no sense. It feels weird to me. I know I'm getting points for this. I'll take this rubbish out or this garbage out, but there's so much room in the bag. I don't smell anything.
Right,
We do
right.
it because we understand the game and the value of the game, and we want to win the game. And just, take care of a partner. And if that means a lot to you, okay, means a lot to me.
Well,
Okay.
and I think where you started this piece, the word you used, incentivize, I think that's a real key, because you both can win. You can both get more of your wants and needs met. A man can feel appreciated, acknowledged. He can feel like he's contributing in a way that a woman values, and a woman can also get more of her wants and needs and desires met and feel like she can trust and she can relax and she can feel that masculine support. And so it can create that win-win when there's that some compassion, some understanding, and some incentivizing. I mean, I give my husband hubby points all the time, and that sounds totally goofy, I know. But I'll just say, oh, you got some
Doesn't
extra. I said, you got some extra hubby points. And he's like walking around the house like, I got extra hubby points. And I'm
that's
like,
right.
that was the easiest thing ever for me to give him, but he's real proud he got some extra hubby points. And at one point I told John Gray about my hubby points and for my husband, and John said, "Don't ever take away any hubby points. It feels so deflated." And I told my
Sure.
husband that, and he's like, "Oh yeah," he said, "I'd feel devastated if I lost hubby points." So I
I
said, "The good
mean,
thing about those is they only keep going up, 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 up."
that's right. And because, again, masculine is about competition. It's about win-loss. And they're like, why do you think we can sit down and watch like 200 games or whatever? Because it's about the points and who wins, and there's a time and there's rules, and we got to know who's the best performer, who performs best under pressure. It's a thing to us. It matters. So again, if it's, you might think it seems a little silly to have puppy points, but like, oh, I get points for this? Like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. And understand that, again, that's an incentivization. Like they want to win the game. They want to feel successful. They want again, it is incredibly painful for a man to be in a relationship where he doesn't feel like his gifts are received and acknowledged or appreciated. It's death to him, and he will probably leave that relationship because any self-respect. And again, that's a big thing with self-respect with men too. Like they need to feel appreciated and know that they're not wasting their time and that there's value here. And it has to be an empowering partnership for both sides of it. They both have to be able to win the game. And there's a million ways to win the game because for every two personalities, now there's a new forms of relationship, and the relationship has its own rules and strategies and things within the entity, but it's totally different and might be totally contrary to what either of you experienced before. But again, when you set it up with the end in mind, it's like I care about my partner. I want the very best for them, and I also want to expect great things for me. I don't have to win every argument, and I don't have to always whatever. I don't have to always be right or whatever. But together, I want both of us to feel great. I want both of us to feel loved and appreciated and respected. Even if we mess up, we kind of give people a graceful way to get back, with reason when possible, unless it's, too outrageous in some ways. And again, like one person's like, oh, hell no, that's a deal breaker. And another person's like, all right, I'm going to give you one more chance or whatever. Like, again, that's different too. And so you have to just kind of figure out like what works. And what I'm saying, what works is you go inside and do your work, know your tendencies, know who you are, know what you need, know what you want, ask for it, expect it, and don't, it does no good for anyone. If you're in scarcity and you say, okay, well, I'll give this guy a shot, even if you don't think that they're going to ultimately be able to do the job or do it in the way that you think will be satisfactory for you or them. So it's like sometimes you just have to say, yeah, I'm feeling it. I don't think this is going to be the right one. And
Yeah.
You got to know yourself, though.
Yeah. Well, speaking of knowing yourself, I think that has a nice segue into you sharing a little more about your assessment gift. And for everyone watching or listening, you can get that by clicking on the link in the description or below the video that you're watching from. And so I want you to tell us a little bit about this, Dave, and what people can kind of expect or gain from that.
Yeah, well, again, it's you getting in there, doing your work, and knowing about you and yourself. And I can tell you, for me personally, it was absolutely a game changer because there are like 6 different tendencies, or like your human needs assessment. What is it that must happen for you in order to feel good? And like I ask all these questions, and you say, in this situation, I'd rather this or this, this or this, this or this, this or this, and then it calculates your answers and pulls them back to the needs that are governing. And like there's a predictable pattern that's happening even if you don't necessarily know it. It's cross-contextual, all these different areas and sections of life. Like what do you do in your relationships? What do you do in your leisure time? What do you when you go to a party, how do you behave? When how do you when you're trying to choose somewhere to go, when you're in a restaurant or something, what's the most important thing? And so it takes the invisible and makes it visible. And like you add it up, you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize that, the example I gave you earlier, some people base their lives on predictability. No, I'm not going to take a chance. I want this. I know I go to that place because I know what to get. They get number 6 on the menu. I like that. The chef is really good. He's been there for 40 years. And like, it's going to be really kind of challenging if you're all about predictability and your partner's about unpredictability and variety. Like someone is going to feel left out in this exchange over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to. And again, I'm not saying either one necessarily has to change, but there's probably a good idea to have a recognition that like one of you is probably going to have to shift a little bit or something, or maybe this just isn't workable. I don't know. But anyway, there's these 6 needs, and it totally governs their decision making, what you do, won't do, must do. It talks about like you can look at it and figure out like why people become addicted to some things. Like if you have a need that meets more than in 3 different of the 6 categories at a high level, you actually become addicted to it. And I'm not just saying like, chemical addictions are harmful. There's good addictions like going to the gym or, being addicted to dating profiles or social media. You could be addicted to that if it's filling up, all these levels. So again, it's really good to understand like what is the driving force? What do I go to? What is of critical importance that I must have? It's basically is running the show by default. I don't even know it if you're not if you're not aware of it. And it's just like some people are like, what? I don't think that's important. And then when you get back and run it back, you're like, well, you got this and this. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess I do. And sometimes like the thing that changed my life is when I understand what 2 were I was running my life by before I became coach. And it's like, that's not even what I want. Like that's actually setting me up to make decisions that kind of stink. And it's where it's the life I used to lead. These are default things that were I didn't choose them, they were installed. Okay, so it's really important if you understand like there's an operating system in your head about the things that you think are good and not so good or always good or awful. And it's running in there and you didn't choose it. It was installed over time. And so 4 of the 6 needs are pretty awesome. And that would create an awesome life based on the hierarchy of the needs. And 2 have all the pain of the universe attached to them. And so it's important to know which 2 have the pain and like, why are they at the top? Maybe you just move them down one spot or 2. So they're not in the top 2, and then they don't cause all that pain. And it's, I can tell you, it's a huge change. I wouldn't be talking to you today if I hadn't done that process and had the courage to leave, my job, working for the man, in the corporate. And by the way, that corporation is hanging by a thread. It used to have hundreds of people. Now it's down to like 20, and it's miserable because it's been taken over. It's not a good place. But if my own belief was, no, you have to stay with a company, you get a check every 2 weeks, whether you like it or not, I would be just hate life there because I know it's bad. I know people that still work there, but having the courage to say, no, I don't want bad. I want this. This would make life amazing. I'm blessed to do what I do. I really, really blessed and live my purpose, but that's pretty awesome. But again, it came down to doing that and seeing that pattern and taking the invisible and making it visible and then making a choice. So I highly recommend people check it out. It's totally free. I had someone send me an email. I was sharing it at another in a summit that I had done an interview with, and someone said, do you see my answers? So like, that's a great question. I do if you check the box that says share this with Dave and you can chat with him about it. But if you don't do that, then no, I don't say it. It doesn't matter to and it's your private thing if you want it, just to make it available to you. And she's like, well, I don't really want to see it. Like, okay, don't check that box. And because by the way, when you check that box, you also get on the phone with me and we can chat about it and we can talk about it. And it's a free thing that I have for you. So, but if you don't want me to see it, that's fine too. So again, I just, my own experience was such a good one. Like it was a game changer for me. And that's why, it took me a while to go and get this all engineered behind the scenes on my website and provide people the service to do this assessment. Because like sometimes we put a thumb on the scale a little bit, and try to figure out, well, no, that can't be it. I'll choose this one. But and I think it's a pretty good assessment and it gets you a good idea again of like your references from the past, where are they operating, what's most important. And, when you see what the top 2 driving needs for you are, in the game plan and say, well, what's likely to happen if they continue? Is it going to be good, or do you think it's going to cause you more challenges and pain? Those 2 running the show for you. Right. It'll run the show and run you right into the ditch again and again. And you're like, why does this always go badly? Because you're afraid to take a chance. And so you always pick the known commodity and then you never get to win the game because you're picking, the same types of people doing the same types of things that always routinely disappoint you. So again, it's like, certainty isn't always your friend. Sometimes you have to get out of your comfort. Everything good in life happens outside your comfort zone. I wasn't going to be having an amazing life staying at that company that I think would just be horrible right now. But because, oh, no, they pay me, so I'm staying. No, I would be miserable there. I know that. So I'm going to, it's going to be 17 years in a couple of weeks. August 1st will be 17 years for me doing this. And it was the best move I've ever made. One of the and no, marrying my wife too was pretty high on that list too. But it was a great move. And again, it happened because I had a good understanding of the pattern of my past decision making and how it would affect my future.
Right, right. Well, I want to leave you, Dave, an opportunity to kind of share, in addition to this gift, which again, everyone you can get from clicking on the link here below the interview and in the description. I want to give you an opportunity, Dave, to just share with us any kind of last thoughts, any last inspiration, anything you feel inclined to share as we kind of wrap up for today.
You are reading my mind because there was something I did forget to say. And I haven't really talked about this before. Ladies, I want to share something with you and follow me on this. A lot of times we run into trouble because we tend to want to change people. We get them to just, their person they're dating is misbehaving. They need to correct that behavior. And that is often futile and not welcome, not appreciated. So we're trying to change people or, behavior manage them or whatever. There's something that a lot of ladies might be doing because I believe they have an unconscious bias and they don't really fully understand how it might be affecting them, the dating world, the dating pool, and their own results. And I'm going to put something out there for them because I've been looking into this. So remember where I said sometimes there's like a global situation. So if you ask the women, like, well, what are you looking for in a man? And I don't know where it came from. It was like Disney cartoons or whatever. Like, tall, dark, and handsome. So what's tall, dark, and handsome look like? And so here's what you've created. You've created a situation where in the population, men over 6 feet tall are heavily prioritized and valued. Less than 15% of the population, 14% of the population. And then the next is, I want to be rich. I want to make over 6 figures, whatever the number is. And the percentage of men who make over 6 figures? 10%. And so what we've created now is created a system where 100% of the women are going for those top tier value men. And the top 10%, they want over 6 foot, over 6 figures. And what they don't necessarily know is like you're creating a class of men who are so heavily incentivized to never settle down with anyone because they have their choice of all these women who all want to date them, and it only turns them into bad behavior, predatory behavior. And you might think, oh, gosh, I mean, this great guy, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's this, he's that, he's tall, he's that, with this, he's whatever. Probably not going to settle down with you. They don't need to. Why would they? Like they're literally having their choice among these people, and they're, and it suits them because, they're doing this whole Playboy thing and living the life. And why would they settle down? No, I'm not saying there are some tall, successful men who do see the value of life. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there is a class there of people who are just totally taking advantage of that unnatural weighting of preference that you're creating, like this bad behavior by your actions that you're not necessarily thinking, like, what's the logical conclusion of that? And so, you over empower these people to behave badly. And then, again, you might feel bad because, like, why didn't they call me back? Or they're not, like, why didn't they ask me on again? Or what? Why aren't they texting me? Why aren't we in a relationship? Like, they were never going to be. They don't have to be. They don't want to be. They're not in the right season for that. But they'll say whatever they need to say or, to get what they want, which is, feel, powerful, successful, whatever. It's like all these things, why do they buy Rolexes or why do they buy expensive sports cars? Because they want to feel a certain way, but they're doing it at your expense, perhaps. And so what I'm just saying is, like, one of the things that you'll complain about these things, but also inadvertently, if you're swiping no on all these people because they're 5'10" or 5'11", what are you doing? And you're like 5'2"? Like, really? Is that the most important thing? That's your criteria for your best match? Because there are some good people that I know are in there. And the what you're also doing at the bottom of it, like there's men, talk about some of those men who are actually having challenges in life and whatnot. You create a situation where some men are out there, they're sending their things out and they want to meet someone and go out on a date. And, there's people out there, they send 200 emails, they might get 2 coffee dates. Or to get 5 coffee dates, you might send 200 emails, but then 3 of them are going to show up. And so now the other thing, about the incel movement, celibate men, like they feel like they can't meet women, and now they're angry about it. And so now they become more misogynistic and more angry and more, so again, it's like, that one choice. I'm looking for a guy who's over 6 foot and over 6 figures, and damn, that's my sweet spot. Wait, is it sweet? Because look what's happening here. Like you're, creating challenges in the marketplace because it's not a bubble. It's a global thing. And so I'm just saying, be conscious of what that might be inadvertently creating. I know no one's looking to create a bunch of super predators or angry men who can't get a date. But it's happening. It's absolutely happening. And so, like, just think about it. Again, if people they like what they like and they choose what they choose. But it's just one of those things where it's it's like a perfect storm sometimes. Like you're creating some of the problems you don't want. You get angry, vengeful men are not defending that either, but I'm not defending the people who are just taking advantage of people. But I'm saying, look at your behavior, or look at that choice and what the cost of it is globally, and that's what, again, so the people that sort of check out if they can't get a date or they can't, and they create stories, they get angry, and it's
yeah. So it's real, and definitely what you're talking about is real. And yet I know people out there are listening and saying, I don't want to settle. You're not saying settle. You're saying, just look at these things from a big picture standpoint, and also really consider if it makes sense to give a guy that's not over 6 feet or not over 6 figures a chance, and to maybe open up your, I think what can happen, Dave, is I think people can become hyper-focused on certain things. This can happen with both. Yeah, and it can happen for both men and women. Like a lot of men will have a certain look, it's like the blonde Barbie look or whatever. They can have a certain look, and that's the kind of woman they're going to go for. And any woman that doesn't look like that might not be someone they're going to date. For women, I think we can also become hyper-focused on certain attributes or characteristics. And also, it's like, you don't really know if everything that someone puts out on their profile as far as their height or what they do for an occupation is entirely true. So there's that too.
Absolutely. So I think they're going to lie because they can't get in. They can't even get any attention if they don't.
Yeah, people lie about age, height. I mean, this is one of the biggest complaints for both men and women online is they look nothing like their pictures when they show up. They're a totally different age or height or weight or whatever the case may be. So I feel like looking at this through a lens of not just like height and salary and, a certain look for men or women, looking at heart and character qualities, values, who this person is, how they show up, like opening yourself up to the possibility that the person you might fall madly in love with and have a wonderful relationship and life with may not actually look or come in the exact package that you might have expected. I mean, I can't tell you, I know you've experienced this with your clients. I can't tell you the number of clients I've had over the years who initially the person they ended up in partnership with or marrying didn't necessarily look exactly like they thought this person would.
Absolutely. And I think it's actually kind of exciting, I think, when you see a client sort of go against type, maybe for the first time, because look, I did it too. Like the last couple of women I dated before I met my wife, they could have been sisters in some ways, and like I wasn't necessarily choosing for that, but they were just people who were in proximity and I thought were attractive, nice, and was getting to know them. But then I started saying, well, you've got a type. Somebody else said it to me too, and I'm like, oh, I guess maybe I did, but I don't know. It wasn't conscious. Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you take the unconscious, make it conscious, like you really can change it. And thank you for saying what you said too, but I would be sure, like, I know when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to an audience of mostly women. So, again, your example to the corollary was the exact same thing. If I was talking to men, I would have a different example. And look, I'm not saying, height or income is a bad thing. I mean, what I also said, men are chosen for their ability to protect and provide, and theoretically a taller, stronger, more fit man would be a more effective hunter and more able to protect the family and, take care of these things. I get it. I don't have a bias of just saying, if we draw that out, here's the unintended consequence of that possible thing. So maybe open it up and maybe ask yourself, is 5'11" bad if they're great character? Can I live with 5'11" and you're 5'2" or whatever? Maybe. I think character is a better long-term thing. And again, for example, men, choose, by look. And I want to say that too. Like, I think women do so much work on themselves to try to affect their looks. But again, when I find it's like a lot of times men are going to pick on character. They're going to pick on, how do they interact with you? Do you speak life in them? Do you support their goals and dreams? Do you believe in them? Do you admire and respect them and appreciate them? Like, it's not necessarily all about, ads, the cosmetics and shapewear and all those things or whatever, or getting your hair done. Like, those are great things and that will get their attention. Absolutely. But does it keep it? That's the question. What keeps their attention? Like, you might, your looks and appearance will get you a date, but they won't necessarily keep a relationship. What keeps a relationship is the character of who you are and how how your man feels when he's with you. And like he's, again, you're receiving his gifts and he feels like that's my girl, this is my place. And the beauty of a man too is like he'll die to protect you, or he'll die to, provide or to take care of things, when he's getting those things, when he's respected and appreciated and acknowledged. So yeah, and like you have that in your power. Like, and don't underestimate how important that is. I know the people who are listening to this are amazing women, because they're here doing this work. They're trying to, understand, like, what should I be looking at? How can I be the best version of me that I can be? I want you to be happier. I want you to be less, more resilient. I want you to be less reactive to, nonsense and people playing games or gaslighting you or doing that stuff. And I want you to have the self-worth to say, no, dude, not here. That's what I want for you. Want you to have what you want. And if it's 6 foot, 6 figures, God bless you. Have fun. Go do that. Just, I know there's a lot of women that I'm talking to who maybe hadn't considered that. So I just wanted to put that out as something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good reminder and a good perspective. And yeah, there are choices. We all make choices. We have to make choices that are right for us. We're attracted to, and yet these are questions worth just looking at. If you're lonely, if you'd really like to be in a relationship, if you're not meeting someone, can you consider there might be even more important criteria than what you might have been focused on? Because I do think we can get really hyper-focused on something.
Yeah.
Both men and women, we can get hyper-focused on one or two characteristics.
Yeah. And again, when you're really doing your work, so what the whole point of what I'd like to just say is, why are you choosing that? What about that feels so important? Feels so, like, why is that driving your decision making? And you may have a good reason, that's fine, but just be clear on what we're doing and why we're doing it, and and run it out. Like what are the possible advantages of that? And what are the possible disadvantages of that? The unintended consequences. And so, the tall, wealthy men need love too. I'm not down on. That's awesome. I believe everyone should get more of what they want in the world. I'm just talking to the other people who maybe hadn't considered it from that level, or that perspective. It's all about your perspectives, and take a step back. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. This might be creating certain effects that I hadn't considered, and then I don't know if I'm fully prepared to want to deal with that, or I'm not okay with it, or maybe I'm not okay with that, or maybe I want to do something different, or maybe I could, get a different result if I, change a few things, whatever that may be. So that's my thinking anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot to think about. A lot of really interesting topics we covered here today, Dave. It was really fun to talk with you, and I really appreciate your perspective and thoughts and some contributions to my book. I know there's a couple of things that stand out for me as writer downers or things that I can use for the book. So I appreciate all of that. And again, Dave and I both are really grateful to all of you who are listening, because we believe you're the kind of people that are committed to having an extraordinary life and love. And we're both big fans of partnership, and believe that there's a lot of beautiful possibilities for all of you out there, whether you've experienced it up to this point or not. Because one thing that I've learned is love is evergreen, and it's out there in an abundance. And when we're ready and open to receiving it, and are approaching life from this place of possibility and learning and growth, it's amazing the things that can happen.
And I would say also the opposite of that, like isolation. Like a lot of bad things happen in isolation. A lot of challenging stuff. Like some of our most intractable problems in life and society happen in isolation. So, I love that these are our people. You're here listening to us, and they know how important it is. It's not to be all in all. Like, it's not an excuse to beat up on yourself or be hard on yourself, or, please don't do that. But it's like, just try to just be open and do this work and understand yourself, and it will be worth it, because it's I always say, it's not about the goal so much until you become towards the attainment of the goal. It's if you have peace and you feel good and you know who you are, and you don't suffer fools, but you don't allow people to be disrespectful or rude or whatever. Like, there's a peace that comes from that, just knowing your worth. And like, yeah, let me stop you. No, that's not gonna work here. Like, there's just such value in that, of just knowing who you are and what you want, and there's peace. And like, that's what I want for people. I want them to feel good, and I want them to feel loved. I want them to feel appreciated, respected, honored, all these things, and I think that comes out of it's inside. There are some strategies and behaviors and habits and things that can facilitate how things go outside of you. But again, I'm just really pushing this going internal and figuring out you and how you're showing up, because you're 50% of the interaction with someone.
Right, and you're the 50% that you actually have some ability to
influence,
influence, to work on.
100%.
Right.
It feels like a good place to leave this, doesn't it?
It does. I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you so much. It's been fun to be with you again.
Likewise, my pleasure. It's always great to talk with you too. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Dave. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.